Greetings, this is Paul, your Pacific Northwest trail guide. I want to help you pick your next trail to explore, so let's check this one out. There are several hikes you can do in the Beacon Rock State Park, and this is one of the longer ones. There's plenty to see along the way too. Tons of great viewpoints, some waterfalls, some wildflowers, a summit, and maybe even horses. Altogether, this lollipop-style loop travels around 7.5 miles and takes you up 2,270 feet of elevation ascent. You'll want to bring along your Washington Discover Pass to park at the trailhead, or you can pick one up at the kiosk right at the trailhead if needed. If you're visiting in late summer, you'll have the opportunity to find lots of thimbleberry along the trail if you want to gather some. Also, like I said before, there's a lot of great viewpoints along this one, so if you want to get a closer look at the Bonneville Dam from above or spot some landmarks across the river in Oregon, binoculars can come in handy. Coming from the Vancouver, Washington area on Highway 14, you'll drive right into Beacon Rock State Park, and right across the highway from Beacon Rock, a small road leads uphill towards the park campground. Head up this road a bit and you'll find the trailhead for this hike at the first turnout available on the right. There's also a playground and picnic area at the trailhead. A few different paths lead out from the parking lot, and they all lead to the same place, the start of the Hamilton Mountain Trail. The first part of the hike will take us up about a mile and 500 feet of ascent, where we'll explore an area containing Hardy Falls, Rodney Falls, and the Pool of the Winds. The Hamilton Mountain Trail ascends on a wide, even path deeper into the park. As you continue in, the trail is meandering towards Hardy Creek, and you start to get views through the trees off to the east. And eventually, you can also see Hamilton Mountain in the distance as you pass through a clear-cut path for high-voltage power lines. You also pass a junction with the Hadley Trail here, which comes from the campground. After much more progress up the hillside, you come to a bridge over some runoff that feeds Hadley Creek. From here, the trail levels out, and you're getting close to the waterfalls. First, you approach a little side trail that takes you down to the Hardy Falls viewpoint. If you head on down, there will be a small fork to the right, which you can take to see Hardy Falls from the side here. Continuing the other way brings you to the main viewpoint above the falls at a platform, which you can't actually see much of Hardy Falls from, but it does put you in the middle of this beautiful spot with waterfalls all around you. Heading back up the steep path, you can take a fork to the right to join back up with the trail a little farther in near a bridge. You soon arrive at a junction and can continue straight on a short spur to visit the Pool of the Winds. This spot at the top of Rodney Falls is a unique feature with a small waterfall hidden in a cove of rock, plunging into a deep pool within. Looking into the slit between the rocks, a cool breeze rushes out over the frigid water to refresh you. For the next part of the hike, we return to the main trail and cross Hardy Creek, and ascend steeply up to the summit of Hamilton Mountain, and beyond it to Hamilton Saddle. The bridge awaits below, and we make the short trip back to the main trail. Back at the junction, the trail heads down steeply, and soon you reach the bridge you were just viewing from above. This bridge is well situated right in front of the huge cascade of Rodney Falls. If you were not refreshed by the Pool of the Winds, this spot will surely cool you down. No need to linger long, as we'll be back this way again on the return. The trail continues straight ahead at the top of the steps. You soon approach your first view out to the Columbia River, with Beacon Rock poking up above the trees. Continuing on, it's not long before you reach the junction with the Hardy Creek Trail. This is the base of the Lollipop in our Lollipop Loop, and we head right here to take the steep ascent up the mountain, and the loop will bring us back to this spot, coming from the Hardy Creek Trail on a gentle descent. After some steep ascending, but not as steep as it will soon be, you approach the base of the bluffs of Little Hamilton Mountain and can see them through the trees. The trail switches back to loop around them and ascend the west side. As you get farther up and the trail gets more rough, Parts of the trail are shorn up with cement steps guiding you along. A clearer view of Beacon Rock appears as you make your way up. Many short, steep switchbacks take you up the side of Little Hamilton Mountain. Try taking the widest path available to minimize erosion. Finally, you reach the rocky exposed near top of Little Hamilton Mountain. The trail switches back to the north and continues on past it. Before long, you see more bluffs and the top of Hamilton Mountain up ahead. As you come out on what I would like to call Little Hamilton Mountain Saddle, you get your first view upriver at Bonneville Dam. You'll get a similar view up at Big Hamilton Mountain Saddle, but from higher up. Hopefully you're ready for some more steep switchbacks, because that's what's up next. Once the trail gets around to the side of the mountaintop here, those switchbacks start. Wider at first, then you get to switchbacks in a smaller, rockier, exposed area. You come out into small grassy areas that are full of wildflowers in the summertime, bustling with bugs and butterflies and an assault of colors. Finally, the trail pops out at the summit of Mount Hamilton. It's a little bare spot among some bushes, and you can see Mount Adams off in the east, and the top of Mount Hood peeks out off to the south. A nicer spot to relax awaits though, so we follow the trail on along the ridgeline behind the mountain. The trail on this ridge is slight, and the bushes encroach on it, so it's not the nicest part of this trip. A little 4x4 post on the trail marks a little viewpoint you can check out on your way to the saddle if you like. A little spur trail after it you can climb up takes you there. It's a rather similar view to that on the summit we just left, but you can sit down here and still see Mount Adams, whereas if you sit down at the summit all you can see are bushes. On the downside, this spot tends to be swarming with bugs. Continuing on, we hop back down to the main trail to keep heading north. Soon you leave the exposed bushy ridgeline and dive back into the forest. This little stretch between here and the saddle is where you'll find an abundance of thimbleberries.
So much thimbleberries.
Not ripe at the time of filming here in June, but later in the summer you might be in for a treat. Eventually, the trail passes by another 4x4 post, where it turns away from the ridge a bit to descend down towards the saddle. You abruptly emerge out onto a giant plateau as you arrive at Hamilton Saddle. This is a gorgeous spot with plenty of space to sit on the cliffside and gaze down at the Columbia River as the hum of Bonneville Power Station and the faint rush of the spillways sound off in the distance. Continues on beyond this nice viewpoint when you're ready. Follow it to a junction off in the distance, marked by a wooden signpost. This is the end of the Hamilton Mountain Trail. For the last section of the hike, we'll follow an equestrian trail to connect us back to the Hardy Creek Trail, which loops us back to the Hamilton Mountain Trail and the last bit of the return to the trailhead. The equestrian trail heads off to the west on a huge, wide path that appears to be a former road. Very soon after you head down, you'll pass a junction with Dawn's Cutoff Trail. This trail offers options to make this an even longer loop for those looking for more miles. But for this guide, we switch back to stay on the equestrian trail. As you make your way down this uneven path with awkwardly sized rocks, it is a peaceful but unremarkable little connector to get us back to the trail we need to return on. Although this may not be the most interesting stretch of the hike, you may be lucky enough to get an abundance of birdsong on your way through here. We approach another little junction where the upper Hardy Creek Trail heads off ahead, but we again switch back to stay on the equestrian trail, which we are almost done with. Finally, you reach the junction with the main Hardy Creek Trail and turn left onto it, following along above Hardy Creek. If it was an exceptionally hot day, this would be a great spot to go down to the creek and wade in to cool off after the majority of this hike. The Hardy Creek Trail continues on, meandering at a gentle descent as it follows the creek. You pass by small bridges and this interesting retaining wall along a large stretch of the trail. Eventually, you reach the junction with the Hamilton Mountain Trail and turn right to continue on familiar ground back the way you came in. As I promised, you'll get to visit those great waterfalls again, and you quickly reach the staired switchbacks to bring you back down to them. Soak it in all you can this time. Who knows when you might return, if ever. After crossing the bridge over Hardy Creek again, we continue on past those little spurs and cruising downhill on the last mile of our return. As you have seen, this is an amazing hike with so many features along the way. Keep in mind the many options to take shorter or longer versions of this trip too by adjusting the route. On to the ratings for this hike route. It rates 2 rocks for terrain in consideration of the rough rocky trail you encounter, primarily on the steep ascending switchbacks. Nothing special to consider for elements, so 1 cloud. It's on the longer side of an average length, but still rates 3 boots. Finally, the climb rates 3 mountains. It's a challenging ascent for most, but not overly intense, like some other summit hikes you might encounter. That's all for this edition of Pacific Northwest Trail Guide. I hope I have or will soon help you pick your next trail to explore. I scouted this trail in June of 2024, but trails are always evolving. If you pick this trail and encounter any changes people might like to know about, please help out your fellow explorers by sharing in the comments on this video. I've shown some of the beautiful sights of this trail in what feeble capacity a video can render. A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but an experience with all of your senses cannot even be conveyed in pictures or video. So don't take my word for it. Get out there and see it for yourself.